Booyah, Recruiting Nation. This is Rear Admiral Jim Waters, Commander Navy Recruiting Command, and welcome to episode 14 of Uncharted Waters. And you'll note that the ever-present, or almost ever-present, Chief Totome is not with me today. He's off on a secret mission and won't be with us today or for the next episode, but he'll be back, so you don't have to worry. So today, I have a couple of special guests with me. We have Navy Recruiting Reserve Command Commanding Officer, Captain Dave Neal, and Command Master Chief Kinloch. So welcome to Uncharted Waters.
Sir. Thank you, sir. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And explore a little bit about what NRRC is for the recruiters out there. But first, let's just talk a little bit about who you are.
Sure.
So tell us a little bit about your background.
Captain David Neal, I am the odd person in this command as one of the only active duty sailors in a reserve-centric command. I am a SWO nuke NUPOC, so shout out to the NUPOC program. I'm a big believer in that. I landed here because I did have a NTAG CO tour back when it was an NRD Atlanta about 10 years ago. And then back to sea for a while, and then found my way back here for a Commodore tour, and just so happened I was inbound about the time that Navy Recruiting Reserve Command stood up. I originally had orders to Region East, and then landed here instead. So
yeah, and it's worked out pretty darn good.
Worked out fine.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
and Command Master Chief, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Command Master Chief Sharon Kinloch. I did recruiting for let's say 20 years. I was a recruiter, went up to the LPO, and then went to the DLCPO, known back then as a Zone Soup. Then I did the ACR tour, and then I did 3 CR tours before converting to CMC.
Okay. And then as a CMC, you didn't just CMC inside recruiting. You went out and did the thing.
Yes, sir. I was the SEL here on your staff, sir. And then after that, I went to the Navy Reserve Center San Antonio, and then I went to Red Crown Great Lakes, and now I'm back here at NRRC.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So, Skipper, tell Recruiting Nation a little bit about what NRRC is.
sure. So I guess we're about almost 2.5 years old now. And the original intent was to have a separate command to specialize and really go after the reserve prior service enlisted mission and the reserve officer mission. It's take reservists that can speak reservists and really focus on those missions and try to do a little better than maybe we've done historically, and it takes that. I don't say distraction, but it puts us in our kind of our lanes, our specialties. So maybe we'll do a little better, frees up some bandwidth for the active duty side to even do better on the active duty missions, both officer and enlisted. And so far, I think it's worked out quite well.
Yeah, and you're on glide slope to make mission for the prior service enlisted.
Yes, sir. In fact, we've a really good month. We've written 500 contracts the first time ever.
Wow.
This month, so a great month.
500 contracts.
And we are on track. Got a little work to do, but on track to make mission this year for prior service and do our part on the reserve mission at large, helping out the Navy Reserve.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, and CMC, tell the team here a little bit about some of the challenges of leading a relatively new command, but it's spread all over the country. Pieces of it are more fully formed than other parts, and yet you're still contracting, 500 in a month.
Yes, sir. I would say it goes right back to the direct leadership that's boots on the ground. We are spread across the whole entire country, including Guam and Japan. And to touch every sailor, it's been challenging, but we've been doing it. I'm glad for the teams. We do a lot of teams call. We do a lot of training, and we get out and see the sailors a lot, sir. So we want to know that we thank them and we appreciate what they're doing to help the Navy Reserve.
Yeah, that's interesting. And so as you, how is NRRC organized? there's the headquarters here in Millington. What else is there?
So, sir, we have 5 RTAGs right now. First, we have 2 that just stood up, one earlier this year and one last month. The third one will be next month. So at this time, we have 3 COs. The SEL, which is the Command Senior Chief, will be following later this fall. So it's been challenging, but we have 5 CRs and ACRs out there that are leading sailors and doing what needs to get done, and they're making sure that sailors got what they need, and we're doing everything that we possibly can up here.
Yeah, and when you have organizations that are still tasked to recruit, but they haven't stood up yet, Captain Neal, how's that led? What happens?
Yes, sir. It's been a challenge. It's the last 2.5 years have been interesting transition. First off, I want to shout out to the NTAGs that are out there, because as we stood up, great support across the country. Their sailors became our sailors almost overnight. But they still look after them. There's still support we get from the NTAGs. So really appreciate that cooperation as partners. But we knew over time that we needed to create more and more internal capability. We started piecing together a plan. We always knew that we had to keep the production going from day one.
Yeah.
So we knew we had to keep producing. And as we built the airplane, as they like to say, we had to keep production going. We got very lucky with the leaders out there, those CRs and ACRs that we got. We got ops. So we've had a very good hand of initial talent.
Yeah.
We would have never made it without that talent out there.
Yeah.
So blessed, lucky, but a lot of hard work.
Yeah, I think it's a real testament to your leadership, CMC, and the entire team that you were able to, really make this seamless in the sense that the mission continued. I'm sure it wasn't seamless from just the leadership organization challenge, but really impressive that we've been able to continue on. And as I was just talking to the team here at your headquarters, NRRC has been on glide slope for the reserve mission pretty much throughout the year, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, when we stood up, it was certainly a transition, and I'd say probably about month 9, month 10, our chief recruiter and a team that had been out training at essentially almost every station, I think we really started to get traction and have been really on glide slope now for about 18 months is when I think the first time we made mission was February of last year, 22, and we've made it essentially every month since. It took a lot of work to get there, but again, the team was key.
Yeah, and I think it's also really important for the recruiters to just have the perspective that there was a very conscious thought that went into how we divided the missions, right? You're in the prior service enlisted, and you're in the all reserve officers, but you are not recruiting NAT and TAR enlisted, right? And talk a little bit about the thought that went into that. I mean, I wasn't here at the time, but I now understand the logic behind it, but I think it's important for Recruiting Nation to understand.
Yes, sir. Yeah, markets is really what drove the decision process. So NAT and TAR sailors, we've got an audience that are pretty smart on recruiting and know that the NAT TAR market is primarily in the high schools. And the prior service market is everywhere else, right? The workforce, the fleet concentration areas. So it always made sense to us to keep those two missions separate, those two markets separate. And in fact, history, I think even back once upon a time, 20 plus years ago, there was a Navy Reserve recruiting element. But even then, at least for part of that time, the NAT mission was still at Navy Recruiting Command. So there's precedence there. And we know we've got to cooperate. We've got to be partners. We've got to pass leads back and forth.
Yeah.
That's critical to both of our successes. But yeah, that's made sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to recognize that on the enlisted side, you're recruiting from people that already have worn the cloth of our nation, right? So they've got some experience in serving. And when we talk about NAT-TAR, these are young people that are, street to fleet, coming out of society to enter the service. And if those were being done by your organization, by the R tags, then they would be in the same markets with the N tags, competing with each other. And that's part of the logic behind the N tags retaining that NAT-TAR or non-prior service reserve mission.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, on the officer side, a little bit different because you have all the reserve officer mission.
We do, and there's some duplicate efforts there, I think, in some areas. I mean, by and large, people know they want to join the reserves or they want to go active duty on the officer side, at least from a street to fleet standpoint, the DCO market. Obviously, the NAVVET piece makes complete sense to be a separate entity with us. But by and large, people know they want to be an active duty sailor. They're interested in the reserves. So it still makes sense.
Yeah, when you use the NAVVET, that's people that have served before. DCO, direct commission, sort of street to fleet. Yeah.
Yes, sir. And a lot of our DCOs are actual reservists, enlisted reservists that want to become an officer.
Yeah, that's
Yes, sir.
right. Okay, very good.
Yes, sir.
And CMC, you're in something of a unique position, having pretty extensive recruiting experience.
Yes, sir.
And a CMC experience. Maybe you can give a little bit of perspective on sort of the perennial question about, how have you thought about the division of roles between the CR and the CMC in your organization? How do you think about it just writ large?
I think, sir, being a prior CR and now a CMC, I knew that relationship between myself and my fellow Master Chief has to be together. We have to be on the same page. We have to have those hard conversations, and we have to make decisions that's what's best for the command. So we take all the personal things out of it, and we know what our mission is, and we go to get that mission.
Yeah.
So I think just having that relationship, to have that ability to talk to each other, I think that plays a valuable role. And it's the way I was brought up and taught as a CR.
Yeah.
To be, to talk to your Master Chief, talk to your CMC. When you go in there to talk to the skipper, you're on the same page.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Right. It's all about that relationship.
That relationship, sir. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
absolutely. So, Skipper, what do you see coming? Yes, you're going to bring on a few more R tags, but what's the future? What's your vision?
Sir, so there's still a lot left. We've got a plan now. We've got a strategic down to tactical level plan that's come together, but there's still a lot of pieces that have to fall in, especially on the manpower side. As CMC mentioned, 2 R tags have a CO, but they still don't have an XO, and they don't have a command senior chief yet. The other 3 are going to come online over the next 6 months, but even that command leadership will continue to flow. We've got TAR billets that are allocated. The first of those individuals are starting to come in. Even at headquarters, we've got a few billets that are coming online over the next year that are being brought in. So there's still growth. Our challenge, we've talked about this, the production really came up to speed very quickly. Take a group, focus them, kind of makes sense. The sailor support has been where we've lagged, and we've had to play catch up because as CMC mentioned, we're all over the world, to include Japan, Hawaii, and where we've struggled, right? And we travel as much as we can, but think, I say as a CO of a command now for almost a year, I've still only probably been to 20% of my offices, right? Where for an INTAG CO, I mean, I was in every office at least once a quarter, just for the regions, because they're not the direct report like we are for still so many of our sailors. So that part has been probably the biggest challenge. But the future is bright. It's going to be tough. Missions continue to go up. The reserves, they've seen the success and they're happy with what we've done. So the answer is we want more.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. And CMC, as we sort of wrap up, what are some of the things, one or two, that you're most proud of from your tour here with NRRC?
I would say I'm glad the way the team has came together and performed. And like we said, we are spread out, but we hit every challenge and we continue to help every sailor and we don't stop. We
Yeah.
keep going and going, sir.
Yeah.
We're like the Energizer Bunny.
I definitely can see that. That's amazing. So for the recruiters out there that are part of the RTAGs, I just want to say thank you personally for the work that you're doing, continuing to make mission day after day, week after week, knowing that we're in the middle of building out NRRC, building out the RTAGs, and working hard to ensure that you have the support you need and the barriers are removed. But you've done amazing work day in and day out to bring in the right people to man the Navy Reserve. So thank you for that. And with that, we'll wrap up episode 14 of Uncharted Waters. Hoo-yah, Recruiting Nation. Thank you. Out.